If you think you've had a bad cruise experience, well, get ready for this story. This is probably the worst story I've ever heard, and it just gets worse and worse as the story goes along. Does it have a happy ending? Well, wait until the end before you make up your mind. Thanks for watching today. I'm Jeff. This is Backroads Tourist. I love Ketchikan, Alaska. It's one of my favorite places to visit on an Alaskan cruise, and one of the most popular attractions in Ketchikan is the Lumberjack Show. It's a lot of fun, and I recommend it if you've never seen it before. The Galt family from Oklahoma went to the Lumberjack Show when their cruise on the Norwegian Encore paid a visit. The Galt family consisted of 9 people, including 6 minor children and a 78-year-old grandmother. Well, they exited the show and they went to get on their shuttle to take them back to the ship, and according to them, there was some kind of a mix-up with the tour operator and there was no room on the shuttle, so they were told to wait for the next one. The problem is, the next one never came. Their all-aboard time was getting closer and closer, so they called the Port Authority for help. The Port Authority sent a van to pick them up, but by the time they got there, the Encore had already left, and yes, it left with all of their belongings. Now, if you've been to Ketchikan and you've seen the Lumberjack Show, you know that it is within walking distance of where the ships dock. But I want to remind you that they had a bunch of kids with them as well as a 78-year-old woman, so walking that distance would have been difficult at best. Plus, they were told that another shuttle was coming. And the report I read wasn't entirely clear on this. I don't know if this was an excursion that was booked through the cruise line or not. So if the story would have ended here, it would have been bad. But it didn't. It got worse. 8 of the family's 9 passports were transported off the ship, but because all of the family members didn't have their passports, they weren't able to meet the ship the following day when it docked in Victoria, British Columbia. And yes, it gets worse. The next day, they got a charge from Norwegian for nearly $9,000. Citing the Passenger Vessel Services Act, the cruise line charged $971 per passenger for fees incurred from violating the U.S. Customs and Border Protection's policies by missing the ship. The note from Norwegian read, quote, "The Passenger Vessel Services Act, or PVSA, prohibits the transportation of passengers between 2 different U.S. ports on any vessel other than a U.S. flag vessel that meets all requirements for U.S. coastwise transportation. Any passenger who unexpectedly disembarks the ship at a U.S. port of call, i.e., Alaska, due to any reason which results in a violation of the PVSA may be charged by the cruise company supplying the transportation." End quote. The Galt family had already spent about $30,000 on their dream vacation. Now they had to spend an extra $9,000-ish for this violation. And they still had to pay for meals, hotels, and new travel arrangements to get home. And getting home was a hassle too. They had stops in numerous cities, overnight stays at the airport, and canceled flights. But wait, there's even more. Several of the family members have also been diagnosed with COVID. However, it's unclear where they were exposed to the virus. In just a moment, I'll tell you what Norwegian's side of the story is and see if there can possibly be a happy ending to this. But first, let me urge you to please give this video a like and then subscribe to the Backroads Tourist channel. I've got some fun videos in the works and I don't want you to miss out on any of them. So hit that little subscribe button right now. I'd really appreciate it. You just heard the Galt family's side of the story. Now let's take a look at what Norwegian has to say. In a statement, Norwegian said, quote, "When the guests did not return to the ship at the published time, we attempted to contact them but were unable to reach them. As such, we alerted the local port agent in Ketchikan and requested that they assist the family with booking a hotel for the night. As the guests would be unable to downline in the next port of call, Victoria, British Columbia, the port agent also helped the guests with securing flights to Seattle the following day. Norwegian went on to say that the family will be reimbursed for all out-of-pocket expenses incurred as a result of the incident pending delivery of receipts to the cruise line. And the family will be refunded for the 2 days of the sailing that they missed. The cruise line has also started the process of reversing that nearly $9,000 charge for violating the Passenger Vessel Services Act. Norwegian also says that they're giving all 9 guests a future cruise credit in the form of a 20% discount on a future cruise. This isn't the first time that Norwegian has left multiple people behind. You may remember that back in late March, 6 tourists from America and 2 from Australia had to fend for themselves when they were left ashore in West Africa. The passengers had booked a private tour and they didn't make it back in time, and when they returned back to the ship, the doors were closed. The Norwegian Dawn had left their passports with the local port agents, but it was up to them to get to their next port of call, which was in Gambia. They made it, but the ship didn't. Due to low tide, the Dawn couldn't dock, so the stranded passengers had to travel to the next scheduled port in Senegal. Norwegian said that they would reimburse the stranded passengers for their travel from Gambia to Senegal, but that's it. The passengers are responsible for all of the other travel expenses since, after all, they did miss the all-aboard time of 3 p.m. Now, there's a lesson to be learned here. Cruise lines aren't kidding when they tell you to be back at a certain time, and if you book an excursion on your own, you do so at your own risk. So what do you think, my friends? Did Norwegian make things right, or do you think that they should have done more? Or maybe you think they should have done less? Let me know about it in the comment section. Also, this might be fun. What is your cruise nightmare story? Does it even come close to this one? Feel free to share it in the comment section too. Well, thank you so much for watching today. I'm Jeff, and I really hope that we get to meet on a future cruise.